Good evening, everyone. My name is Anita Mayo. I am a member of Public Advocates Board of Governors. I'm so proud to be here to present this Voices of Conscience Award to Fred Blackwell, the Chief Executive Officer of the San Francisco Foundation. Advancing justice and making progressive social change requires vision, a commitment to collaboration, and a strong, clear voice, attributes that Fred Blackwell possesses in great measure. Tonight, we honor Fred because he embodies the values that first inspired the creation of this award, an award that recognizes organizations and individuals who are committed to defending and expanding opportunity for low-income populations and people of color in partnership with those communities. We also honor Fred tonight because he is a leader who is willing to tackle problems that defy easy solutions. Through his work with the San Francisco Foundation, he has shown he is a leader who stands firm in that commitment when facing tough forces, economic and social, that customarily paralyze progressive change. Forces such as institutional racism, indecipherable bureaucracy, the siloing of problems and issues, and the frequent unwillingness of the powerful to invest in hearing from and embracing the participation of communities most affected in solving our most pressing problems. When Fred started at the San Francisco Foundation 2 years ago, the first thing he did was listen. He met with people throughout the Bay Area and heard about their problems and their communities in their own voices. He used that experience to hone the vision he's brought to the foundation, one that sees the challenges facing our Bay Area as regional, not ones bound by city or county lines. We at Public Advocates share Fred's commitment to this regional vision for equity. As many of you know, Fred Blackwell is an Oakland native with a long career in government and philanthropy. He continues a family legacy of working for racial and income equality in the Bay Area. In 1990, Public Advocates honored Fred's mother, Angela Glover Blackwell, with a Voices of Conscience Award. Angela worked for many years with Public Advocates as a managing attorney. Tonight, we are proud to be able to contribute to that family legacy by honoring Fred Blackwell for his vision and outstanding leadership. Fred?
So I'm not going to take long because I'm well aware of the fact that I'm the last thing standing in between a lot of the people in this room in the final parts of the Warriors game. But I did want to say a few things. One is that, this is a very special recognition to me, actually. My mom, as was said a little bit earlier, worked for Public Advocates from 1977 to 1987. Yeah. And so when she started Public Advocates, it was right at when she was out of law school. I was coming out of the school that was founded and run by the Black Panther Party, being the son of Angela Blackwell. And I remember there were many times when I was 7 years old at the time, she brought me to work with her. And I played darts with the interns at Public Advocates. I got this speech every time in the car on the way to work to make sure that I did not play around with the typewriters that were in there because the legal secretaries had this special sense of ownership over those typewriters, and so I should not mess with that. But what I remember most was how bigger than life the attorneys were at that time. Sid Walensky, who I hope is still here, Bob Gnazda, my mother, Lois Salisbury. These were all people at the time, for somebody who was 7 years old, and I was 17 by the time my mom left that place, that were just amazing people to me. The other thing, though, was that I remember the issues that my mom worked on. And there were a lot of them, but there were four that really kind of captured my imagination as a young guy. One was, and what was interesting about this is she probably started this work and John went on to continue it, was the diversification of the police department in the city and county of San Francisco. Another one was addressing the bias tests that were put in front of people to become firefighters in San Francisco. And this is probably the only group that I could actually say probably understands what I'm talking about when I say that Trish-treated pajamas was another thing. Some people are laughing there. Trish-treated pajamas, and for those who don't know, were these pajamas and undergarments that were made in the 70s, 60s. The young people would wear them, and they were fire retardant, but they also were cancer-causing. But wait, it gets better. The US companies that made these pajamas, once the US decided that they were going to get banned here, exported them to third world countries. And Public Advocates was at the forefront of saying, no, you can't do that. And I remember my mom working on that. I also remember my mom working on issues having to do with infant formula and how that infant formula was really being pushed on low-income mothers to use that in ways that they shouldn't. There were no labels. Nobody talked about what was good or bad about it, and that was another issue that Public Advocates worked on. And so for me, actually receiving an award from Public Advocates is quite moving because I grew up in the place, and I just watched it with such admiration, the people, the issues, the fights that they took on. And so it means a lot to me, and I just wanted to say thank you. And I want to say a little bit about what we're doing and why we're doing it at the San Francisco Foundation. It was mentioned earlier that, one of the first things I did when I got to the foundation was go to the different corners of the Bay Area and start to talk about people, about how they were feeling about their communities and some of the things that they thought were going on right and wrong and what they saw as solutions. And, I would be preaching to the choir if I began to talk to you all about all the things that people are concerned about out there in the Bay Area right now. But one of the things that really struck me, and this actually comes from the fact that when you grow up in a place like Public Advocates and with a mom like the one I had, you have a few inflictions. And one of those inflictions is the inability to turn away from injustice. You just can't do it. And the second is things that other people kind of think are bold or radical, you kind of think is just the right thing to do. And what's burning me up right now, particularly as somebody who grew up in Oakland, is that I watch all of the economic growth and prosperity and wealth and opportunity that's being generated in this region. And for the vast majority of the people who we talked to when we did our listening sessions, people actually feel like that is happening somewhere else, and it may as well be in another country. That it just is not accessible to the folks who have lived here, and particularly to the people who have lived through the years of disinvestment and neglect in places like East Oakland and West Oakland, Bayview, Chinatown, the Mission. And so what we have taken up at the foundation as the tip of the spear is achieving racial and economic inclusion and achieving that at a regional level of scale. And so I just want to kind of end by talking about why those two things are really important. On the racial and economic inclusion piece, I mean, we have all heard and we continue to hear about all the hand-wringing about income inequality. I even hear people like Ted Cruz bringing this stuff up. But the thing is that when you look at that stuff and you look at income and wealth inequality and you actually layer on top of that race, here in the Bay Area, you end up with levels of income and wealth inequality that rival third world countries. You also see a situation where people kind of put out the issue of kind of income and wealth inequality and economic issues and lack of economic mobility as important issues, but they're like proxies for race. And one of the things that I think is important, the reason why we are leading with the conversation about race is that race actually is an important part of this. This is not just an economic issue. It's an economic issue, but race is involved here. And just one note about the Bay Area in regard to income and wealth inequality and race is that when you look at kind of income and wealth inequality and you kind of take it over time, if you look at it in the 70s, the Bay Area had better distribution than the state, and the state had better distribution than the country. If you look at it now, California is far worse than the country, and the Bay Area is worse than California in terms of the income distribution. And so I believe I grew up in the Bay Area, as I said. I went to the school that was founded and run by the Black Panthers. I feel like there's a certain kind of ethos to the Bay Area. We know better. We know better. That brings me to the regional aspect of this. And I think one of the things that I think is important is to bring back the folks who were on the stage a little bit earlier with the organizing and the action that's related to the 12th Street parcel. And what's important, and Carl Anthony said this, I was in a meeting with him, I think it was as early as yesterday, that local action is really important. But the real thing that we have to do is take that local action and put it into regional context, in a regional frame. Because these issues around housing and income and jobs and inequality and justice do not stop at one border and then enter another. It's a regional issue here. And people experience the Bay Area as a region. And so achieving racial and economic inclusion at a regional level scale is the tip of our spear. And I just want to close by saying this and kind of the three things that we think are important in terms of how you get there, because I'm going to start evangelizing about this in a little while, because we've been kind of we've been in planning and we're exiting that now. One is power is important. And so we're going to have a whole pillar of work that is really about nurturing equity movements. That's about really kind of picking up voter participation, civic engagement, local level organizing and grassroots organizing, but really figuring out how that turns into regional infrastructure for organizing and advocacy around issues having to do with equity. Another pillar of work that is going to be important for us is about access to opportunity. And there's several dimensions of that. One dimension of it is really about the spatial access dimension of this. When you live far away from the job centers in the region, that is an obstacle. And not only is it an obstacle to opportunity, it has a degrading effect on our environment. And so this issue of access to opportunity is another piece of it. And there are other dimensions of it. I won't bore you with all of them, but I think that's important. And the last thing is the importance of place. Whether, as I said, whether it's East Oakland or West Oakland or Bayview, Pittsburgh or Antioch, place matters. And for far too many people, places can either be a springboard to opportunity or a sentence to the lack thereof. And we think it needs to be the former. And so figuring out how we make investments and include strategies that really speak to that are really important. I want to end with this. And I can't end without talking about Prince. And I want to just tell you a story about Prince, and it's a story that you probably won't hear. I mean, a lot of folks are talking about his musical contributions and things like that, which are absolutely amazing. But Prince made contributions that go beyond the music. And there's one story that came to mind today when I heard about this, and it's actually a story from Van Jones. And I want to take you back to Ferguson. Van, remember, a lot of us remember Van was covering a lot of that stuff. And At the crescendo of this, one of the things that Van would do is he would, I don't know if it was for us to hear about what was going on in Ferguson or whether it was just Van's therapy, but he would hold these conference calls every once in a while. And at this particular one, it was after everything had really just hit the fan. And he said that what happened was they organized all the press people in this one area and assured them that that was going to be a safe area. And right when everything went down, when you heard gunshots and you saw the woman that was being carried by her colleagues who was there protesting away from the crowd, and then the police responded by firing at them, Van said they got dispersed. And he got separated from his legal counsel and his phone rang. And he just assumed that his family was watching what was going on. So he picked it up and he thought it was his wife. He picks up the phone and he says, hello. And this voice on the other side said, Van, this is Prince. and he said, you know, I'm watching you. I'm watching what's going on out there. The organizing that's going on is fabulous. You guys are really doing some good stuff out there, but it's not working. You know, I know you know the president. You need to talk to him. You need to tell him if this stuff doesn't stop, he needs to cancel Christmas. Prince hangs up. I figure I just had to tell that story. It's a great story, but I wanted to bring Prince into the room because, one, it was obvious that he was connected to and caring about these issues, and he was a brother that transcended all of that stuff in some ways and got to a whole nother level, but he never forgot where he was from and what his roots were. And not only did he make that call to Van, but as I'm sure a lot of you all remember, he did free concerts in Baltimore during the Freddie Gray incident. And he made a single called Baltimore shortly thereafter. And so I just wanted to bring him into the room because a lot of people will bring him into the room and they'll talk about his musical accomplishments. But Prince was about this work as well. So thank you. Appreciate it.